Little difference, though, between the two parables, however. Now, the key to understanding, excuse me, if you would, the parable of the weeds and the wheat. The old King Jimmy, I like to call it the King Jimmy, the King James Version of the Bible, calls it the wheat and the tares. I kind of like calling it the King Jimmy. I kind of like that name for it. But wheat and tares, that's a pretty cool name. Tares are nothing more than weeds. That's all they are. But the key to understanding this text is the second sowing. There's been two sowings that have happened. The first sowing was God sowing the good people into the earth. Now, as we said last week, I don't care what the late night preacher has to say. Sowing never has anything to do with money. It always has to do with the gospel or the people of God. It has something to do with God and His people. And here is no different. Now, the sower last week, he was what? Sowing the gospel. He was sowing the gospel. Now, the Son of Man has become the sower, Jesus. And what is He sowing? He is sowing those good folks into the world. Now, a lot of people want to think that this is talking about the church. The church is encompassed in this. But it's actually, the field is what? If you will go to the second part of this, the explanation, Jesus says the field is the world itself. The second sowing, the weeds begin to spring up. The enemy sows weeds in amongst the good seed that has been sown. Once everything begins to come up, excuse me, I'm going to grab a little drink of water here. I don't have anything catchy, I promise you. I've just got a dry throat. You have to forgive me. But the seeds that were sown here in the second sowing were the evil. And they asked the master, they say, Master, did you not sow good seed? He says, yes, I sowed good seed. He says, as a matter of fact, I had it checked out by the University of Illinois and Illinois State University Extension offices. That's a joke, folks. I'm trying to, come on, man. Come on, get with the program. I'm trying to get with the community here. He says, no, I sowed good seed. It was good seed. He says, what has happened is the evil one. An enemy has come in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep and has sowed what? Bad seed into the field of the world. What does the enemy come to do? And who is the enemy? The enemy is Satan, of course. The devil himself. And what does he come to do? He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That is what he is here to do. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy from your life, from my life, from the life of everyone who is a follower of Christ. That's his job. He's very, very good at it. And he does it when you're not looking. He sows the bad seed into the community. I hear folks all the time saying, I am praying that so-and-so or this situation will not be in my life any longer. I'm sorry. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, we are what? To grow up together. Why? Because the parable lets us understand. They say, let us go and tear those weeds out of the wheat. What does the master say? He says, no. He says, you might destroy the wheat while you're pulling out all of the weeds or the tares. He says, let them grow up together. Here's something that we need to learn that God is trying to tell us. In our lives and in our world, there are people who were sown by the evil one. They have nothing but nefarious plans. Their mind is on evil constantly. They only wish to wreak havoc into the lives of the people of this world and into God's people especially. Why? Because Satan hates God's people. His job, his purpose is to kill, steal, and destroy. And if you will go back and look at the connection from the parable last week, the parable of the sower, what does the weeds do? What happens when the seeds hit the good soil? The weeds come and they choke the life out of the good plants. Our purpose is to be good wheat. And we are to what? We are to withstand whatever the world brings and whatever the weeds bring among us. We must withstand any of that. We are to grow towards God. We have to overcome that and not let this world choke the life out of us. Let it not choke our faith out of us, for this is what the enemy would desire to do. He desires this. He wants this. This is his job, to kill you, to steal from you, to destroy you. And he will do it any way that he possibly can. And he will use any means at his disposal to do it through these weeds. We cannot let the weeds of the world destroy us. We must be the true and the good harvest. And here's something that's wonderful about this. There will be a harvest. There is coming a harvest. It is the end of time. There is a resurrection that will happen at the end of time. And God will send his angels, it says, to separate what? The wheat from the weeds. They will be separated, because at that point they will what? Be mature. They will be totally recognizable. Sometimes you can't recognize the weeds until they truly come up and show what they are. But at the end of time, God will send his harvesters, and they will separate the wheat from the tares or the weeds. No matter what happens, understand that there is a reckoning coming. There is a time coming when God's people will be vindicated, and that God will take all of the evil out of this world. And what does it say? It says that the reapers will come and they will pull up the weeds first. They will pull them out and they will wrap them into bundles. And then what will they do? They will throw them on the fire, and they will go into the ash heap of history. But what does it say happens to the wheat? It says that God will collect the wheat. That's us. That's his people. He will collect the wheat, and he will gather them together. And what will he do? He will place them in his storehouse, which is heaven. He will take us to be with him. God has a plan for all of us through this. May not be a total individual plan, and sometimes we wonder what it is, but God is going to overcome all the evil and the nefariousness of Satan. It will happen. We get tired. We struggle. We wonder, why, God? When are you going to overcome? When will all this end? God is going to take care of that. His promises are true, and he will, at some point, separate the wheat from the tares, and his way will be done in this world. And I pray today that we would be the good wheat, the wheat that goes forth and proclaims the gospel of Jesus Christ. I want to leave you with this. As the good wheat, what is our job? Satan and his imps, they have theirs, to kill, steal, and to destroy. What is ours? You got to go to Matthew 28. Matthew 28, the last few verses. Jesus says, this is his last command to us. This is our marching orders. He says, all power and authority has been given unto me. Everything, the power of death, hell, the grave, everything is his now. All authority. And now what does he do? He sends us on our way. He says, now go. He doesn't tell you where to go, how to go, when to go. He just says, go. Wherever you are, just go. And he says this. He says, baptize all nations in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Baptizing them in my name. And then what? And then teach them everything that I have taught you. This is our marching orders. This is what we are to do. And this is how we will overcome the weeds and Satan himself, by going forward. And through that, God will bring a great harvest into his kingdom if we will do what we are called to do. And I pray today that we would be good disciples going forth